Hey you guys, welcome back to Set Streets and Eats. I'm Chris Bauer. I am in Eugene, Oregon today. I'm on the campus of the University of Oregon for a specific reason, and it's something I wanted to do for a while, but today I'm going to go around and visit all the shooting locations of the film Animal House. Animal House was a pivotal comedy that was shot here in the late 70s, written by John Landis and Harold Ramis, and Doug Kenny and a lot of the National Lampoon writers. This was their first foray into movies, and it ended up being a huge smash hit. So I'm going to take you around some of the shooting locations of a film that I really enjoyed growing up and laughed at a lot, and I'm pretty excited to see them myself, and I hope you'll join me. Let's travel.
Ha! Where'd he get the wheels?
From his brother.
Yeah?
He's letting him use it for a week or so.
Uh-huh.
Flounder's bringing his girlfriend up for the weekend.
Flounder, I am appointing you pledge representative to the social committee.
Gee, Otter, thanks.
Let's go! Okay.
So behind me, sadly, is the location of Delta House. Delta House, unfortunately, you could tell by the condition of it in the movie, was not in great shape, which is exactly why they picked it. But it only lasted about a decade after the movie was filmed, and they tore it down in the mid-'80s, made way for this administration building, and the rest of its yard is a parking lot. However, it is still, just like in the movie, directly next door to the Omega House. Omega House still stands here today. It's still a fraternity or sorority, can't tell from the Greek letters because I suck at Greek. But it's still here, and the houses were right next to each other. Omega House clearly hasn't changed a single bit, and which is kind of cool. It just kind of adds that level of, ooh, look at that place. But sadly, the Delta House is gone. So directly in front of it, they have a marker, historical marker, and right at the bottom of it, it says in the 1950s and 60s, the house was used by a fraternity and popularized in the late 1970s by the film Animal House. But sadly, that marker is all that remains of Delta House. So back in '77, when they were trying to get this movie off the ground, Universal had already greenlit it. It had a $2.8 million budget, and John Landis was having a very hard time finding an Ivy League campus that would be willing to let them shoot there. He approached everybody, all the bigs on the East Coast, everybody all over the US, and they were running out of time. And then someone gave him a tip about Oregon, that there was a Ivy League looking brick building campus at the University of Oregon. So he reached out to then Dean Boyd. Dean Boyd, of course, said yes and negotiated the cost, and the only condition was that Oregon wouldn't be mentioned anywhere in the movie. The reason that was successful is a lot to do with the fact that Dean Boyd was dean at the University of Berkeley in California 10 years before, and that's where they had filmed the movie The Graduate. So he had already dealt with a film crew coming in and saw the results of how big that movie got. And I think that heavily influenced his decision to say yes to Landis. And he's lucky he's dead because nobody else had said yes. So who knows where that movie would have gone if he hadn't.
Greg, what is the worst fraternity on this campus?
So I'm out in front of what's now known as Johnson Hall. This was the dean's office, administrative offices back in the late 70s. And this is where Dean Wormer's office was. This was actually Dean Boyd, the current dean during the late 70s of University of Oregon's office, and they let Dean Wormer use it. But the funny thing is that they had the horse. Later on, you've got Belushi at night running all over those steps. And they bring the horse in, and they actually took the horse all the way up to the office. So the horse went inside, they filmed the whole thing inside. It's usually open to the public, but probably due to COVID times, the building is locked up tight right now, but you can actually follow them all the way up to the office. That's right where they did the whole horse scene. The horse was actually in the office and everything. But yeah, it's still right here. So Fenton Hall is where Donald Sutherland's character, the professor that ends up hooking up with Karen Allen later, is teaching. This is also the site in classroom 110 actually, where the guys have to stand trial with Dean Wormer presiding, I guess, and basically where they reiterate that you have one last chance. That all happens in this building, which is right across from the administration building, which isn't too crazy. Most of the buildings here are going to be pretty close together. Easier for company moves and easier to have a home base, probably here in the quad for all the crew, cast and crew. Keeps it mobile, moving around.
I'm not joking. This is my job.
So just behind me is the night library. No, I don't believe there was any scenes inside of it, but the guys walk past it early on when they're doing the walk to the party. But they walk past it, and then we do a pan down shot to right here, because right here is where the Faber statue was. I forget the guy's name, but his last name was obviously Faber. And this is why they were at Faber College, but of course was fictional. And the statue was on a pillar right here at the top of the quad, as you can see. So anyway, the statue was right here. Then of course later in the movie, we don't see them do it, but when the death machine comes out from underneath the float and swivels to a stop, we establish that they've cut the head off of the Faber statue and they've mounted it on the hood of the car. So effectively killing the Faber statue, Faber College, however you want to look at it. But that statue sat right here for the movie, and that was the library that they walked past. So the establishing shot with Belushi right here, and you can see these silver pillars. That's about the only thing still original in here. And then of course he gets his food and moves over to the window.
I do hope we're not interrupting anything, Mandy, honey.
Well, you must know.
Eric was just leaving.
Oh, no, I wasn't.
The booth was sitting right here. You could actually see the windowsill from across the street of the building over there. That's where Otter sits down, is of course hitting on the Omega's girl. And they sit down, and then Belushi grabs a chair and sits right on the end of the booth right here. And then of course he makes them guess that he's a zit and spits all over them after punching his face, which is a classic scene. Then of course that sets off him running away, getting all of his soldiers riled up, and then he screams the immortal words. And that all happened right in here.
Turn the car around. I'll be right back. Excuse me. Well, I'm here to pick up my date. Did you ring Fawn Leibowitz for me?
So the guys take a road trip in the movie, and they travel to the Emily Dickinson Ladies College. It's right across from the student cafeteria where they filmed the food fight scene. But this is where Otter goes in and meets this girl, the supposed roommate of his supposed dead fiance, when all they did was look at the obituaries, find out she died, and used it to hook up with her roommate. As deplorable as that is, that was based on a true story from one of the National Lampoon's writers that he actually did in college. Savage. Anyway, this is where they filmed it. This is the exteriors. The interiors look identical to what they did in the movie, except for the furniture in the lobby, which has been taken out. Everything else is still, they haven't redone it at all. It's pretty cool. Of course, locked up because I couldn't get in, but I've seen the roof. It's pretty neat. Anyway, they filmed that right here. One of the locations I was excited to see, but unfortunately we're not going to see today because it's completely changed, was the hillside that Otter hits golf balls at the football field from, hitting Niedermeyer in the head. And of course his horse drags him across the field. Hysterical scene. Anyway, they've completely have a new state-of-the-art football field and tennis courts and all that taken into that place. So all of that's gone now, unfortunately. So we won't be seeing that. Sorry, I'm talking low, but right next door to the former Delta House is a building that they used the interiors for the toga party. I'm just going to show you one location in here from the toga party that's funny.
I gave my love a cherry that had no stone. I gave my love a chicken when I give.
Sorry.
So this is the staircase that the guitar player is sitting on when he's playing for the girls. And Belushi comes down the stairs, takes the guitar from him, and smashes it. But that's where it happened. It's pretty much the only spot in here that is still original. It's always been hysterical, that scene, because anyone that's ever been at a party where someone pulls a guitar out and starts playing some Beatles song has always wanted to destroy that guitar, and Belushi actually did it. But that is right next door to what would have been the Delta House. So the interiors for the toga party were in the basement. That's where they had Otis Day and the Knights set up. And but that stairway is kind of the only thing that hasn't been massively overhauled. But it's such, probably, arguably, the funniest scene of the toga party is Belushi smashing that guitar.
You know you make me wanna lift my head up and throw my head back and come on now.
So now that we've seen the University of Oregon's filming locations for Animal House, we are going to jump a little south and see where the finale of the movie was shot. So right behind me across the street is what's called the Relax Inn. It was actually known as the Rainbow Inn for the movie. This is where Otter, played by Tim Matheson, pulls his Corvette right into that parking lot, right over to where that Ford truck is. And that was in front of room number 6. And he gets out, thinks he's going to be getting lucky. He's got his flowers. And of course, it's the guys from Omega that bring him in and give him a good humbling. And they filmed that inside and out right here, which is really cool because that means that little hotel room that probably rents for very low money a night actually had Tim Matheson and Kevin Bacon in it at one time. And it's all right here still in Cottage Grove, Oregon. So I am downtown Cottage Grove, Oregon. Cottage Grove is about 25 minutes south of Eugene, where they filmed, obviously, all the college sequences. But this is where the parade happened. The climax of the movie of Animal House all happened right on this street, and I'm gonna show you where. Another very cool piece of film history that Cottage Grove is known for is Buster Keaton filmed The General here. That is got that famous train scene that at the time was the most expensive scene ever filmed. I believe it cost something like $50,000. It was the most expensive single scene ever created up to that point, and was very famous. And they filmed that right here in Cottage Grove. So Cottage Grove over the years has come to really embrace its legacy as the location, big location from Animal House, the movie ending location. And just to show that, they have actually brought out the original Deathmobile used in the movie. This is, the guys from Delta were inside this. They had the Eat Me Cake float that was over the top of it, which they cut midway through the parade, and used this to ram the main stage where Dean Wormer and his wife and Carmine were all sitting. Tim Matheson, the actor that played Boone, Belushi, they were all inside this thing. D-Day, and it's really neat because, I mean, it's still right here. This is where Belushi popped out in his pirate costume and started raining havoc in downtown Cottage Grove. But yeah, the car's still here. They have it on display all year round, and it's pretty neat. The only thing that's missing is the head of the Faber statue, but that's right where it would have been. Of course, the Faber statue, as we discussed earlier, was fake. There's no Faber. Right out here is where I forget the character's name, but he bumps the marching band leader out of the way and marches the band, and they turn right here to go into the alley. So this is the building that you can clearly see that wall of when they're going through here. The whole band's now marching into this dead end alley. I'm not exactly sure where I don't know if they filmed the dead end right here or if they did it somewhere else because it was an obvious set, but they filmed them so that the whole marching band would get stuck down in the alley, because clearly marching band members have no brains. is what they were saying. But anyway, that's where the alley was. So they have a marker. Looking east to west from the spot toward Main Street, it's easy to visualize the famous parade scene of the National Lampoon hit starring John Belushi. Otter's Room, Pinto's Room, and the pillow fight scene were filmed 1 block south in the Armory building's basement. That is good to know. So basically, what it's saying is they did the interiors. So Pinto's Room would have been where he took what ended up being the underage girl after the party, but took her home afterwards. And then the pillow fight scene, which is very famous, that Belushi's on the ladder looking through the window, watching the pillow fight, and then ends up watching his, spoiler alert, future wife's getting undressed. Not in real life, his character. Anyway, they filmed those interiors at the Armory here, probably because they could build the sets. Yeah, that's pretty neat. But this is a part of the film trail, which Oregon has that film trail. We've been there to Astoria, to the film museum. Oregon's Film Museum. They've had many classic films filmed here over the years, from Goonies to The Shining to many, many, many others. And they're very proud of their film heritage, which they should be. And this is just one of their markers, one of their many markers around the state. So behind this fence, there used to be a very tall building, not tall building, 2-story building here. But right on the edge of it is where Belushi in his pirate costume climbed up on top of the roof. And he's yelling like, "Take no prisoners." And then he, from there, jumps off. They had the big banner for the parade, and he rips the banner as he swings down across the street there, where he grabs the guy out of the car, knocks Babs into the back of the car, and takes off with her. And we see them again for the last shot of the movie when she's cuddled up next to him in the car as they drive away. And we find out they get married and become a senator later on. So, but yeah, that's right where this happened during the parade scene. If you can imagine the absolute mayhem that this block must have been. It's just hundreds of extras. And there was no digital effects back then, so it was actually hundreds of extras running around. There was smoke. I bet it was something to behold. I don't know how many days it took to film that scene. I would have to imagine a week or more. But it's pretty cool that this town threw themselves into that, not knowing, not having a clue what was going to happen with that movie. I mean, I'm sure it just seemed like a dopey comedy with a couple of names they had heard of before, like Donald Sutherland and maybe Tim Matheson, but I don't even think he was that big at the time. It was Kevin Bacon's first movie, of course, and this town just trusted it and went with it, and boy did it pay off, because that was one of the biggest comedies of all time. So behind me, you can actually see the Fine Food Grove when the Delta's car. So the guys, they've ditched the cake. They pull around. D-Day whips the car around right there in front of that sign. So that sign's still there. Then he pulls up right in front of this building. That's when Belushi pops out of the back. Pirate costume. That's the first time we see him in all of his pirate glory right in front of this, what was then a bank. Now it's a title loan place. But, and then later on, when they're aiming the car from that, almost that same position, they're aiming at the stage that was set up right here. So Carmine, which is the mayor of the city, the Dean Wormer and his wife, the stage is set up right across this intersection, and you can see this building's windows behind it in several shots. They drive the car right into the stage and destroy it right here. And of course, everybody goes flying.
Let's take the cheese.
I hate those guys.
one of the guys leans into the wreckage and asks Dean Wormer if he'd reconsider letting them stay at the school. Come on, it's good humor. Nah, maybe not good humor. It's funny though. It's definitely National Lampoon humor, which probably is more problematic these days than ever, but it had its moment. I'll just say that. I remember watching Animal House many times when I was growing up, and just enjoying the camaraderie. It made you actually think fraternities weren't just filled with stuck-up dudes. And then you come to find out that fraternities are just more boring than anything, but they're good networking institutions for college. But nothing like Animal House really happens in them. It's kind of dull. Well, that wraps up our locations from the film Animal House. I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, and you're watching at this point in the video, you should hit that subscribe button. Let's face it, you made it through a whole video. Maybe I've earned a subscription. Maybe. I'm pretty sure that sign was there. I mean, it's old enough, it has to have been. Anyway, like and subscribe to this video. If you really like it, share it. That'd be amazing too. I always appreciate that when people share my vids. But either way, I appreciate you watching, and hopefully you'll come back again for my next adventure. We'll see you on down the road. Bye now.